This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. Last week we dealt with a lot of stormy weather, but we did make some progress working on the rudders in our garage.
Right, and we continued on and did the final layout of the head area for the walls. Had some use from our commenters. They supplied us with some good information and we took it into account and did a little bit of a redesign based on that, and we really liked that. So this week we've got a lot of work to do because the weather is beautiful, and we're going to get right to it. So let's get over there. Finally time to put paint back on here again. So we've got mixed up some high build primer in yellow because that way we can see the difference between the white later. This is a 4-day process to get this paint the way I want it. So Brian and I are going to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and even Thursday are normally our day off, because we're going to get paint on each one of those days, different sanding and coating, all that stuff. My helper Brent Field is coming out to work on Friday and Saturday. Let's all have Brent. That's like 2 extra days of work done. I hope to be working on the steering bar by then, but we'll see. I'll check with our machine shop. They should be done with that thing, maybe even today, but certainly by Friday. Okay, there's some mud tracks over here. That's okay. We'll clean all that with it. We'll scrub that all off. I cleaned the area we were going to paint. We'll scrub all this before we paint over here. The hatches in the sole floor and the holes, like these right here, have to have something for that hatch to land on. So we've got to create some fiberglass flat pieces to go on here. So Brian's mixing up right now, and here's our first layer of fiberglass. And what we're going to be doing is we've got more out there. We're going to make 4 layers of this on each of these, and then we're going to later, we'll run it through the table saw and we'll cut these in half, and that'll give us the 12 of these we need, because we need about 36 feet total, or maybe 10 meters of total amount to do those hatches all there. So we'll go ahead and start making these. Meanwhile, we're still painting Super Build primer from Alexseal up on the cabin top. So we're keeping track of when the next coat needs to go on. It's about 15 minutes from now. So I'm going to start building this, but if the 15 minutes runs out, I'm going to head up and do the painting and leave Brian down here to continue this while I paint up there. Okay, coat number 2. All right, so got our high build on there, and we'll let that set up, and then tomorrow we will sand this, and then once we get it all nicely sanded, we're going to go ahead and put on our next 2 layers of primer. that last coat of the last piece, and we can call this done. We already got the other layer of paint on the roof, so it must be lunchtime after this. That's it. Lunch. Day 2. We're at Alexseal 442 finish primer now. We didn't show you, but we sanded the super build primer. Got it all ready for this. Unlike the super build, this is white instead of yellow. That way we can see where we need to cover still. All right, we've got our first coat of 442 on. We'll wait 1 hour and come back up and do a second coat. So while I've been up there painting, Brian's been down here doing some quick tests, and we're getting ready to mount our fluid gauges into the boat. And so we have a hole saw here, which was very, very close to the size we want. And then we had a slightly larger one, and we weren't sure which one to go with. So he did the first one, and it's a pretty tight fit. And we did the second one, and it's way too rattly. So what we did is we went back to the first one, and we just wiggled the saw just a little bit as we went, and that makes it just perfect. So this is the old Goldilocks thing. Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and Baby Bear. Baby Bear turned out to be the one we want. So these will be actually going through like this. And so we can cut our hose there. And then this part just sticks into the tank on the other side. Well, that means we're off to the holes to start putting these in. So we're drilling our tubes in now. I have to come from the diesel side because it's hard to know exactly where this one is. So if I start from the diesel side, then I know I'm good. And then we just have to come out just a little bit. Gives us our thing. We'll put our clear tube between there, and then we'll be able to read what the diesel is by just looking there. And the reason we brought these ones over here so far from that diesel tank, you can see we put this one way over here, because the gray water tank is right here, and it's coming through. We're going to do this right in a second. Gray water tank is going to read here, and we want to be able to put a camera about here and be able to see all 3 of those gauges from when we look at it through our chart plotter or our cell phone or our tablet. We can just take a look and see 1, 2, 3 all in one spot, where if I put it through over there, we would have had to have 2 cameras. But here, by extending that over, we can have 1 camera. I have to be fairly precise with this hole, where it lines up here, because it's right along this bulkhead. So this one I'm not going to just judge. There's our 3 gauges, and again, from here, we should be able to see all three with the camera. I'm not sure if the camera will get all three from here. Might be too close. We can always do it from over there. Okay. That's important because we're going to glass these in now. And that's what's holding us up at this point from sealing up these tanks, the diesel tanks. And sealing up the diesel tanks is what's holding us up from finishing off putting the sole in. So this was an important step right here. Now over here on the starboard side, we had to do something a little different because on the port side, the gray water tank shared a wall right here. But in this hole, since we only have one head and one shower, the black water tank went all the way here. That meant that the gray water tank doesn't share a wall over here. And so we had no way of going straight through the wall. So what we had to do is do an angled piece here. You can kind of see it there. So it comes from there, angles over, and then goes down, and then down there at the bottom, again, it angles through the black water tank and comes out of the gray water tank. But that's all that issue. We just went through there, and now we can have our tubes between these here and here. So anyhow, and that's the long one coming over from the other diesel tank to get us a read there. So there we go. Let these set up and move on to the next thing. This morning, I'm running some tests on our liquid sensors that we're going to put for the black water tanks, because we can't really put a gravity gauge on a black water tank because that nasty stuff would coat the inside of the plastic, and then it would never be any good at all in the future. So we've instead bought these little liquid sensors, and so they can sense whether there's fluid or not. So for example, if it's up against the fluid there, that LED lights, and as we get off the fluid, it turns off. And we're going to be putting 5 of these sensors up the tank, so we'll be able to see the general level of the black water in the tank on there. But this isn't going to read through the thickness of foam that the wall is. So what we're going to have to do, we have to take our little test piece that we were using here, and I've got some water in this whole pan here, and we'll float this on here, and then I'll set the sensor down into the foam a certain distance and see how far it has to be down. I believe it's probably going to have to be within about 4 millimeters or maybe an 1/8 inch. So first thing I got to do is drill a couple holes here and core out down into the foam a ways. I'll try a couple different thicknesses, and then we'll test to see if the sensors are working against the water. I'll just float this inside the pan here. I said all this right now because Brian's about to start sanding up on top of the boat. We're getting the sail track ready for the Alexseal paint today that we're going to put on. So he's got to sand the 442 primer. So he's about to get started with that. So we'll get a bit noisy while I'm doing some of this. So the first thing I need to do is have a hole in here. Now I can't go all the way because I'd come through the bottom. This only has a little ways to go here, but I can break the fiberglass on top. Take it out. Now let's see if this works. Just going to float this here in the water, like so. Take my sensor, put it inside of here, and no, it is not reading. So I got to take some more foam out. And there we have it. It's reading through, but it doesn't come through the other side there. It's not all the way through the foam. There's probably about an 1/8 inch worth of foam left there. Now we just have to put 5 holes up the side of the tank and install these water out of here. Install these up the tank like so. Now, if we want, remember, we're going to have a camera down in the build just looking at the gravity gauges for the diesel and the gray water. And this will be right next to those. So when you look at the camera, you'll be able to see these lights as well. So you get to see all of them, all the tanks in the one shot. But if we want, I could run these sensors all the way up to the helm, and because they have an external LED option. So if I wanted to, I could literally run LEDs up at the helm and it would show us the levels of the tanks. So I'll consider it, but the fact is that we're already going to have to look at the other tanks with a camera anyway, so you can check them all at once on the chart plotter by just bringing up that camera. Now down in the starboard side of the hull, where our gravity monitors of these tanks are, and we want to be able to face one camera and see all of this. So this wall shares the same wall as the black water tank on the other side. So we can put our black water sensors right here, and that'll read our various heights of the tank right there. So I just need to drill and core out 5 holes here. Now the tricky part, don't go through this wall. I'm going to have to do a lot more Dremel work to the angle. Okay, get a screwdriver and pry these out. Time to get our Alexseal 501 Matterhorn white paint on. At least the first coat. We're going to do 3 coats of this today. Oh, we got our paint underneath of the sail track, coat number 1. We're going to put 2 more coats on, 45 minutes apart, and I'm not doing the ends out there yet because we got some more work I want to do out there. So that the primer's out there, but the paint ends right at the bend in the roof right there on both sides. Kind of see it over here where it's glossy and ends right there. But this is all we need, because so we can put down the sail track, we need these 3 layers on, and then we need to give this a couple days set up, because it's really important for us to get that sail track on. So I think today's Wednesday. We'll see what it feels like on Friday, but maybe we'll wait till Saturday, and then we'll put the sail track in permanently, so it's never coming back off again. Well, at least not until this boat's sailing. And then we'll, once that's on, we can start putting the rest of the support in underneath and get the poles in that I showed you in a previous video. Get all of that underneath work done. It's all waiting on this paint and so that we can put the sail track in. Today's final day of painting, 2 more coats, and let it set up for a couple of days, and we're ready to build that section of the stern. About time for our second coat of Alexseal 501. Coat number 2. We'll do coat number 3 in another 45 minutes. Okay, ready for the final coat today. There we go, all done with painting for today. So Brian's down grinding out the sensor holes more on the port side of the boat. We've already got the ones that are down for this black water tank over here, but there's a second black water tank on this side, so we have to have a set of them there and a set of them here. Now we're going to run a wire over here and put a second set of LEDs that we can see from the one camera for both black water tanks. So we'll just reroute it over here and add some LEDs. We're rolling along on these diesel tanks and marching towards the next big job in here, which is to put the daggerboard casings in. To get that in, of course, I want all these diesel tanks done. And to that, we did sort of a third round on these. Right now, there's just 2 of these that I needed to redo. So those are in there gluing, and then there's one over here that I had to redo. So the nuts in there. So those are nearly done. They're setting up right now. By the time we come back on Friday, those will be ready to go. And what we're doing right this minute is Brian's mixing up some epoxy because we're going to seal up these 5 holes right here that we put in. And we've got to get epoxy around the outside. So we're going to get epoxy all in there, and then we're going to take this and roll it around to get the edges kind of smooth and get it out. Now, we'll probably end up using a Dremel to clean those up after it sets up, but at least we'll be close if we do this. So we've got 5 on this side of the boat that we need to do, and 10 on the other side of the boat. So we're mixing up enough epoxy. We hope that we can do all 15 right now. So that goes in. Now, as far as these gauge things here, these worked out really well. The only ones of these are these long ones. They need more support than that. So I'm going to create a foam piece that goes in here, and we'll glue to this so that top and bottom one there, so that gives it some support so this isn't wiggly. But other than that, these set up really nicely, and they seem good and strong right there. Now we're not going to put the clear tubes on yet because we got to put bilge paint inside of all of this compartment right here, and we'll be painting parts of these pipes as well. So this whole thing is going to get a lot of bilge paint on it, and then we'll after the bilge paint's in, we'll insert the sensors, make sure they're all working. If not, we can always clean it up a little more with the Dremel and get all 5 of those sensors working. And the bilge paint's in, then we can clamp in our clear hoses between each of these. There's a lot of other stuff that goes in this compartment because there's going to be a maciator pump right here that takes the black water from here and chops it up again and sends it overboard. There'll be a through hole right here. The water line is up here, and this is your sole level. So we want to go below the water line for the black water exit. So that'll be fine right inside of here. It's high enough up that when you beach the boat onto the bottom, it's not going to reach up here, mess with this through hole. So we'll put this up fairly high up here, maciator pump in here, and that'll suck out the black water, run it through the maciator, and eject it overboard when we are way offshore. Now there'll also be a pump out tube that goes from there, all the way up to the deck up there. And so when we are at a dock, they'll be able to suck out the black water through that deck one as well. So 2 ways of getting rid of the black water: one when we're offshore, one when we're in a marina or such. And so we've got to drill those holes still. Actually, I'm going to probably pull that one out of here. This is all black water from where my knee is right here all the way over to there. This is all one black water tank. You can see there's big holes through there let through, and there's down in the corners down there as well. But this tube is in the way over here. So right here, I could put it down there at the lowest point to pull out for when we're pumping it out through the emaciator pump there. So we'll put that hole right down here beyond that one. All right, so that takes care of that black water tank. The gray water over there, it also has a pump out that goes from that corner over there, you know, up to the deck up above. But we also need to be able to pump this out again when we're offshore and such ourselves. And so for that, we'll go out the end over there and into a pump right there. And this one's going to exit above the water line since it's not stinky black water. And so we'll take that up inside a cupboard and exit it above the water line up there, and that'll pump the gray water out the side over there. So that takes care of pumping out the gray water and pumping out the black water. The diesel, we don't ever pump that out. If we wanted to clear these diesel tanks, we would run the fuel polishing system that would take the fuel way back into a compartment, way back on that big bulkhead that's closed over there. And it goes to the fuel polishing system. From there, there'll be a nozzle that we can hook a hose to, and for example, use the same system to pump the fuel out into 5-gallon jerry cans. And if we really had to take this fuel out, we would do it that way. So it doesn't need any other kind of pump out, since we have a pump system to polish the fuel. We can use that to drain these tanks. So all we need is a place to fill the diesel tanks. And we fill the diesel tanks right here. This is sitting right there, and it'll go through. We'll be cutting this out right here, and it goes through here, and then it goes up to the deck, and that's where we fill this diesel tank. Are we ready? Okay, let's do this. I have epoxy. Probably pretty dark in here, but you know, I don't have time to get a light for you, so we'll have to deal with it kind of dark. Because the only way to do this is the proctologist method. Get your finger in there and smear it in. Now we'll clean these up just a bit with this. Oh, that worked out very nicely. To the other side of the boat. We got 10 more to go. Good morning. It's early on a Friday, and we're here with our good friend Brent. I'll try not to go straight into the sun with him. So there we go.
Hi there.
And we got Brian up here too. And it's a repeat of a momentous thing. We had to undo it, but now we're redoing it. Since the paint's done, we're putting the mainsail track on right now. So they're going to clean it all up. They're going to get some butyl tape on each bolt. And once that's all cleaned up and so, we'll bolt that down. Brian will stay up here and screw the bolts in. Brent and I will go down and hold that beastly heavy stainless steel bar up for him to bolt down into. So it'll take them a while here to get this all cleaned up and mounted. So while they're doing that, I'm going to go downstairs and continue work on the plumbing. So I'll leave them to that and I'll get to work. While Brent and Brian are upstairs working on that mainsail track, I have to create some additional throughs. So I'm going to make some more of these. We have to go through the walls, and what we didn't do is I needed 5 that have exposed PVC on each end, where we made ones that had only one side exposed PVC, but 5 of them need to be that way. So I got to recreate these right now. Got these cut at the right width here because we need to leave enough to bond a piece of PVC on each side of this. I've sanded the middle part so that rough it up a little bit so this will bond a little bit better. Clean them up with some alcohol, so that's all set. So these are ready to go. So I just need to mix up some epoxy. The thing is that Brian's busy, so I got to do everything down here now. Darn it. Brian and Brent have got all the bolts with cleaned up with beetle tape put along the top of every one of these all the way down. We got the deck cleaned and we're ready to insert this thing in. So Brent's downstairs and Brian and I will insert this in up here. Okay, they're all in. The rope's not underneath. All looks good. Okay, so I'm gonna go downstairs. Okay, this is where it gets really tricky because we gotta get this to line up. Is your back hole lined up? Is that the right one?
Yeah.
All right, Brian.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna give it a try. Number 14 in just 1 second. All right.
Right.
All right. Turn 14.
14's turning.
You got something.
I got it.
Okay. Here we are at Alloy Weld Works, precision welding and fabrication. And as you'll see here on the floor, they have something that belongs to us. This is our steering mechanism that they've manufactured for us. And these weren't the plans, but they added these little fins on here to strengthen these up. And they added these reinforcement plates at the various joints to strengthen these up. So that's our steering bar, which we're picking up right now. We're also going to be working on our magnetic clutch here because we have to re-drill the hole pattern here. It was made for a Yanmar and we've got a nanny, so they have to re-drill this pattern here. So this is the bolt pattern. I 3D printed this, and they'll be using this to create the new holes and also have to do the same thing into these two parts here. When you're building a boat, it would sure have been nice to have a truck. Instead, I happen to have a Prius, and so when you're bringing your steering arm home from the shop, you end up being like a unicorn on there. So we have that strapped on my bike rack up there I use for mountain biking, and then the other one, the other half of it, which is shorter, fortunately, fits just inside the back. There you have it. But it's a very nice looking piece. They did a very nice job with all the welds everywhere. So we're very happy with it. This morning, we're drilling nasty holes in our boat. We just drilled this one right here, which that's going to be a leak, boy. Just kidding, because we had to drill this to put a conduit in that goes all the way through the steering. But we'll put this piece back in and seal this all back up again so we won't have a leak. Because what we're doing right here is we're working on our steering bar, which we just got. And it goes through where you see the holes going through there. But there's lines that have to come through here and into the cabin back here. That will go to the steering. So right now we're getting this conduit running through. So go ahead and shove that through. We just drilled these two holes, so we're experimenting here. So that goes through like that. And where does that go through? Over here. See that wall behind the cupboards? Mm-hmm. It's behind that wall in there. That's where it's supposed to be. And that will be, that's why we have to excavate down from the bike garage to get to wherever it hits. So we have to cut a hole next through here. So next one is to go up there and drill that. It looks like a very, very, very tight little compartment. So Brian's smaller than me. I made him go in there. So Jeff and Brent were both inquiring as to what in the heck is in this compartment. Well, there's a hatch, going to be a big hatch up here that allows you to come inside of here. And against this wall is where our fuel polishing system is. And we did the fuel polishing system in here because this is a completely contained compartment. The only access is to that, and that's outdoors here. So right here is where our engine compartment is on the other side of this bulkhead. And we don't want to do fuel polishing in here where this is a cabin. We don't want the smells from that, because when you're clearing the filters out, you're bound to spill a little bit. So all of the fuel goes through a sealed part in that wall into this compartment, and then all the fuel polishing's on this side, so that if we do spill any fuel, you don't get any diesel fume inside of the cabin area. Because here it's just, again, if it has fumes coming out, it will be to the outdoor portion for that hatchet.
So that's what we got accomplished. 3 days of painting, and thankfully our friend Brent was here to help.
Yeah, so that helped us push things along quite a bit. And you know, with Jeff and Brent there, we had 4 people working, and so good stuff, lots of progress. And we're going to get even more progress this coming week, because Brian and I are putting on our electrician and plumber's hats, and we're going to get to that. So thank you all for stopping by and watching this week's video. We do appreciate it.
Yes, we appreciate you, and we appreciate our patrons listed here. We couldn't do this project without you. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
So we'll see you next week.
Bye.